if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour. Yeah. Guess this kind of looks a bit nationalistic, doesn't it? You know, me sitting in front of the Union flag. Well, technically it's the 1603 to 1801 variant, which I find more aesthetically pleasing. Amazing, but still, I'm quoting Winston Churchill. Yeah, might look a bit nationalistic, come to think of it. But, you know, it's one of those things, I guess. And some nationalist I'd be. Roman confession, Belgian surname, and 54% of my DNA's Celtic. Hardly a little Englander. I mean, you can be perfectly British and have all those things, just don't you imagine the EDL would like it too much? Yeah. And yes, I know, Winston Churchill is somewhat of a problematic historical figure, and I'm not exactly his biggest fan, and there's been a lot of videos about whether he was a racist or not. It became a bit of a discussion point in 2020. And given some of the stuff he said about working people during the general strike, well, I don't think he had much appreciation for the white working class either. But the point is, that quote about our finest hour, that just so happens to be quite useful here. Because one of the questions might be, well, what is the Ed of History channel about? And, well, this is where we unpack that quote. Because, well, actually, let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of a bombed out London. It's morning. The Luftwaffe have been round last night. Or that's what people used to say, apparently. And so, the people are clearing up. And, hey, now, I don't know, obviously I don't know whether this was the same scene, it's a sort of stand-in, as you know. But here on this day, Winston Churchill happens to be walking down the street and says to the people there, "We can take it!" And then, well, one of the Londoners pipes up back, "We're the ones that take it." Yeah, we're the ones who take it. Because you see, whether or not you agree about our finest hour, it wasn't Winston Churchill who was making it our finest hour. As we see, I've come up with a little bit of a collage, because Britain had many faces. Lots of people making it our finest hour. This picture here, standing in for many people, and my great-uncle Bill, who flew in the Lancasters. He was a mid-gunner. And this picture here for my standing in for all those including my great-granddad Frank, an artilleryman. And this picture of a maternity hospital for another great-granddad Eddie. He was in an exempt occupation, a janitor at a maternity hospital, Because, you know, just because there's a war on doesn't mean people aren't having babies. And, well, someone's got to be there to keep all the normal, you know, those little things they might seem, but it's very important that somebody keeps all that going, even when the world as they know it is falling apart around them. I guess that's not just World War II that that's relevant for. And that's just from and those 3 pictures were just from stories of my own family. And I'm sure every one of us may have their own story, their own family. People who did things. All the women taking up new jobs for the war effort, because the men were off fighting. This photo here of the Royal Scots Guards. I am 25% Scottish, so it's nice I could find one. So, this chappie here from the Merchant Navy, learning how to use a machine gun. Well, aiming it accurately and stuff like that. Yeah, because these things are complicated and important skills for defending ships against the enemy. The Wrens and, of course, Indian Wrens as well. Office workers going to work in buildings that were, as they used to say, more open than usual. Here, gunners of the HMS Vivian. And I hope I read that right, but still. Plenty of our Navy. Some Irish Guards. After all, quite a lot of Irish people volunteered, even though Ireland stayed neutral in the war. But they were still there. But that didn't mean that there weren't people there. The Bevan boys. Making sure that the coal which powered our nation was still there. And of course, our people in the bomb shelters, just doing what they can to get through. My granddad Peter, my dad's dad, well, he used to tell my dad how they weren't always singing in the underground stations, which is where this picture comes from. They weren't always singing when the bombs went off. They were down there, sometimes terrified, especially if the power went out, which just shows. And all these works, all these different things from innumerable individuals, that is what makes it our finest hour. Yes. Sorry. Of course, Britain weren't the only people in the World War. Many people from across the world and of course it wasn't just World War II. There are lots of stories we can tell across our beautiful planet, filled with beautiful people doing what they can to make things better and build lives by hand and by brain, from the heart of Tamworth to the ocean heroes. All sorts of different things. Our healthcare workers, of course, have been much praised in recent years, doing what they can. And lots of people out there across the world putting their talents to great use and making things better. All sorts of people. Organising, coming together, even just putting a little smile on the faces of those around them. Everyone in my channel recommendations list, all of that. I mean, I would read it out, but I'm hoping it'll grow as time goes on, because we all have our gifts and talents, and that's what I want Ed of History to be all about. Will we have fun? Of course. I'm not a very serious soul, and there's so much joy to celebrate upon this world. So much good brought by so many people. Such beauty, such joy. Everybody has something to give. Everybody has a life to live. It's different in so many ways, but there is so much life to celebrate, and so much we can do to bring everyone together in a world of love and care, as we see our world around us and we want to make it better. And that's what Ahead of History is somewhat about. Us, the people, the ones who build our world, the ones who make the words meaningful, the ones who create our own finest hour. And so I'd just like to thank you for watching this little intro, and hope you enjoy the rest of the channel. And wherever you are in this old world, it was lovely having you here.